Hannah and I love eyeshadow palettes. So for today I'm going to show you my collection. I currently own 52 eyeshadow palettes and today I am not decluttering anything. For my small to medium sized palettes, I am storing them this way. So on the first row contains all of my medium sized palettes. The second row, all of my 9-pan eyeshadow palettes. And then in this row, these are the eyeshadow palettes I am working on my project Level Up and my Pando's eyeshadow. So the first 3 palettes I'm gonna show you is from the brand You Can Be. This line of eyeshadow palettes are their best formula and I swear by them. So the first one, this is called Rose Eyeshadow Palette. It's one of the recent releases they have made. I think the other one, it's more on the black and gray tone shades, and I really don't like the tones in there, so I picked up this one. I am so sorry that it looks really ashy on the camera, but in real life, it's got those pale lavender to mauve to gray tone shades. It's really pretty in person, and I have already used this once, and I was so impressed by this shade because this shade looks pale in the pan, but it showed up on my eyelids. So the next one I'm going to show you is this Taro Milk Tea shade. It's more colorful than the first one I have shown you. I think that this one and the other eyeshadow palette would make great combinations. And these shades, oh my gosh, they are so soft, so creamy, and stays on the lids for a very long time. Okay, so the next palette is this light chocolate eyeshadow palette. I think this came out in 2020, and this is an all matte eyeshadow palette, and this is one of my most used eyeshadow palettes in my collection, and I really love all the tones in here, but I just wish that these 3 could have been a little more deeper because I don't need 3 beige eyeshadows in one palette. Each palette is inspired by a certain place from a certain country. So this one is inspired by Tokyo, and I think this palette is called Sakura palette. Oh no, just Tokyo. It's a warm color story, and if you know me, I really don't like warm tones because I prefer cool tones and I wear smoky eyes on a daily basis. Yes, even at work. But I really like this color story for some reason, and my favorite shade from this palette is this Dango shade. It's like a fiery gold. Oh, sorry for flipping. I'm not flipping on you guys. Yeah, see how pretty that is. Oh my gosh. So the next one I'm gonna show you is inspired by Perth, Australia, and this palette, this is the first one that I bought from this line. I bought this way back in 2019, and the formula has gone down. I really don't like the formula in this palette, but the color story is so pretty. This Pavlova shade, it's like a blue brown duochrome. This is from the brand Eye Magic. I think this palette was inspired by the Melt Gemini palette. I also love this palette, but the formula has gone down like the one from Folklore, but they still work and I still like them, and I'm gonna keep it. This is the ColourPop, the Zodiac palette, in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. I think this one came out in 2018. I bought it when it first released, and this was my first palette from the brand, and I have to be honest, the first time I used this, I was not impressed by the formula, and so I haven't bought from them for 5 years. The formula in this one is not great as well. These shimmers, they are so lackluster, and I just really hate using them. But for some reason, I really like this spicy shade. And I have actually hit pen on the Leo shade. That's my zodiac sign. But I'm holding on to this because this is not available anymore. It's discontinued, and I will regret if I let go of this one. I know that first. The last palette from this row is from Folklore again. This is one of my recent purchases from the brand, and I really love the formula in this palette. The mattes are blendable. This is a pretty duochrome shade. It's a white with pink reflect, and this one, although it looks really boring like your usual reddish brown shimmer, but oh my gosh, it spreads like a dream on my eyelids. I love this one, and I think that this will be in my top 5 for the eyeshadow palettes I have tried in 2023. So this row, let's go to this row. 5 of these are from ZZ. All of these are in collaboration with Alice in Wonderland. So the first palette I have in here is called Rose Plate. So it's a warm color story containing reds and pinks. And I've already hit pan on this eyeshadow. It's from my Pando's eyeshadows from last year. Next one I forgot the name of this palette. I am really sorry, but this color story focuses more on the light warm tone shades, and this has a sister which contains more cool tone shades. Okay, so let's compare them side by side. Okay, so this one is more on the warm side, and this one is more on the cool side. Next one I forgot the name of this palette. I am really sorry, but this color story focuses more on the light warm tone shades, and this has a sister which contains more cool tone shades. Okay, so let's compare them side by side. Okay, so this one is more on the warm side, and this one is more on the cool side. I have only used them once, and I cannot tell the formula, so I have to try it more. Then this one, this is my favorite from this line. This one contains purples and peaches and some berries. This shade, this is the star of the show. It's a purple with gold flexes. I think this is more of a duochrome. And then the last one that I have, I think this one is called the Orange Plate. I really also like this color story, although it's more on the warm side. But the mattes in here are so pigmented, they are so good. I just wish that these two could have been more of a shimmer formula than a glitter topper. But this is so pretty on the inner corners. This one is from the brand Judy Doll, and it's an all-in-one palette for your full face. This shade, you can also use this as a blush, and this one you can also use this as a face highlighter. And this one, I'm not really sure if you can use this as a contour shade, but for eyebrows, I think you can use that one. I was so surprised that these eyeshadows are so good, so pigmented, and so blendable. But they are more on the pricey side for my liking. But all of these are really affordable if you want to try Asian makeup. These three are from the brand Beauty Glaze, and I think these three are inspired by the Huda beauty palettes. So the first one that I have is called the Almond Chocolate, and I think this is inspired by the Huda Light Obsessions. Then the next one is called the Truffle. I'm not sure what Obsessions palette this is duping. Then the next one that I have is more on the darker side. It's called Brownie Chocolate, and I think this is inspired by the Dark Obsessions palette. This brand used to have talc in their eyeshadow palettes, but after the fiasco about talc, they have removed it from all of their eyeshadow palettes, and I think it's a good example. Next palette I have in here is the LA Girl Cosmetics Downplay Eyeshadow Palette. This is from their Keep It Playful line, and shout out to Morgan Turner for introducing us to this palette. This is a light toned eyeshadow palette, and for some reason I really like the color story in this one. But the only downside with this palette is that it contains a pressed glitter, and I don't like pressed glitters in my eyeshadow palettes, especially if the formula is not that good and it does not stick on the eyelids. This one is more of a glitter topper and feels rough and dry. Excuse me. Feels rough and dry and sheer, and these three, they are more of a satin formula, and they don't show up on the eyelids, but I love them as face highlighters. Then this one, this is my favorite shade from this palette. It's just so reflective and pigmented. This is a really old palette, but I'm not gonna throw it away because I still enjoy this. I still enjoy the formula, and I think that you can get this in Shopee online shops. Okay, so the last palette in this row, this one is from Folklore, and this is the only 9-pan eyeshadow palette that I have from the brand, and this is the Sunrise Impressionism palette, and this palette is inspired by the Huda Beauty. Oh my god, I forgot the name of the palette. And this one also has a pressed glitter, which I really don't like. But the mattes in here are so blendable, so pigmented, and they are loosely packed. But I think that's okay because it means that they are pigmented. Usually, loosely packed matte shadows are pigmented. And then these three, these are shimmers, but they are more on the creamy side. And mine has dried a little bit, but they still do work, and I really like the color story of this for some reason. I know that it's leaning more on the warm side, but these tones are so pretty. They are so gorgeous, and I have used this in a photo shoot and it looked so good. Okay, so down here, these ones are included in my Pandos eyeshadows and project level app, and I don't know if I will show these ones because they will spoil my progress. Let me think about that one first, and then we will get back. Some of my palettes are stored in these drawers because I cannot store them in these rows. So these ones are like my long rectangular palettes, and then I have this one that I don't know where to put. And then this one, it's an unusual shape, and I really don't know where to put that one. So okay, let's start with this one. My sweet office mate gave this to me. This is a neutral tone palette. My kind of colors. I haven't used this one yet, but I searched for the origin of this brand, and I think this is from Italy. So thank you mom for this palette. And then the next one that I have in here is the Perfect Diary Red Fox eyeshadow palette. This brand is phenomenal. The details on this packaging is amazing. If you touch this one, it has this rough texture emphasizing the plants, and then the eyes of the fox has that glossy finish, and then at the back, the fur of the fox has this embossing glossy texture. So this one is another warm toned eyeshadow palette, but for some reason I really love the tones in this palette. So this is like a muted red toned eyeshadows with brown shades. I was so surprised that this palette is on my top 10. The first one that I have in here is inspired by the Day of the Dead, and this palette is called Crystal Skull. And what I love about this specific line from the brand is that their detail of packaging and the artwork are so great. So this one is inspired by the Day of the Dead, and this palette contains purple eyeshadows, a couple of neutrals, some pinks, a green, and these two pressed glitters. I think that I really like these two pressed glitters because they are more on the good quality pressed glitters, if you know what I mean. So I have used this palette maybe 10 times, and the shimmers are here are so good. The mattes are blendable, pigmented, and easy to work with. I just really don't like how bulky the packaging is because this is so heavy to travel with. So the next one that I have in here is, I think this one is Egyptian inspired. I forgot the specific name of the palette. I'm really sorry. But look at the packaging. So pretty. And this one, I have already lost the insert, but look at that one. And the packaging is already broken. I really like this color story, and this palette is overall really great. It's interesting because it contains a lot of textures, especially under shimmers. And this, I think these three are comparable to the Pat McGrath shimmers, according to some influencers. Look at those. Oh my gosh. And the next one I have in here is the only luxury eyeshadow palette I own, and this is the Mini Retro Glam palette from Natasha Denona. I have only used this once, and I cannot. Okay, so I have only used this once, and from using that. Okay, so again, I have only used this palette once, but I was so in love the first time I used this, and I can't wait to play with this more. So this shade right here, it's called Galaxian. And it's so pretty, like, okay. This is such a tiny palette for the price. So this is such a tiny palette. Each shadow contains only 0.8 gram of products. But I think if you just want to try the brand and you don't want to fully commit with a full eyeshadow palette, I think this is a great concept, and I really think that this one is worth my money. So the next one I have here is from a Chinese brand called O2O. I'm sorry, it's upside down really. It's more on the light neutral tones. I was curious to try this brand, but I haven't used this eyeshadow palette yet, so I cannot tell you how the eyeshadows perform, but I will get back to that. And then the next one I have, it's one of my favorite smoky tones eyeshadow palette. This is from the brand Roto. I think this specific eyeshadow palette is duping the Romand. I forgot the palette name, but the one with the gray eyeshadows. But this one, they have put like 2 shimmer shades. This one is more of a glitter topper, but this is so pretty. Like, can you see the dip I made? And then this one, I hit pen on this because this is one of the eyeshadows I was working on my Pandros eyeshadows for 2023. This palette, you can buy this on Shopee as well. Then this one, this is the Romand eyeshadow palette. This is the Rosebud Garden. I know I have said that I don't like pressed glitters, but K-Beauty pressed glitters are on another level, and they are so comfortable and so pretty on the eyes. This one is such a pretty pressed glitters. I'm so sorry for blinding you guys. Oh my gosh, look at that one. Look at that one. Oh my gosh. I really like this palette, and I feel so pretty every time I use this. It's more on the expensive side, but I think it's really worth my money, and this is going nowhere. Next one I have in here is from the Pink Flash, and this is their Cranberries and Cream palette. I was curious of the brand's eyeshadow formula, so I have to buy one, and this is the only color story that spoke to me, so this is the one that I bought. The mattes in here are so pretty, so pigmented, and so easy to work with. But this one, this is another glitter eyeshadow palette. But this one, this is also a pressed glitter. The next one I have in here is the Zoeva On Taupe eyeshadow palette. And this is my oldest palette in my collection, and I have hit like 5 pans in this palette, but this palette is so old, a little gross, and I don't use it. I just want to keep it because at the time that I bought this palette, this was a little expensive, but the formula isn't great anymore, so it's still staying. Then the next one I have in here is a full color ever-changing eyeshadow palette, and out of all the full color palettes that I have, for me this is the prettiest palette that they have, and this is the most amazing in terms of formula, quality, and the overall performance of the eyeshadow. So if we open this one up, you will be greeted by a colorful story. Okay, let me zoom you out so you can see better. Okay. I think that this one is inspired by one of the Kylie vacation palettes, but I think that this brand has done a great job in formulating this palette. This like a yellow chartreuse shade is the prettiest, most gorgeous yellow eyeshadow I have ever seen. Look at that one. Isn't she beautiful? So I have hit pan 2 shadows in this palette because this palette was also in my Pando's eyeshadows for 2023. The last palette I have in this drawer is this Egyptian Desert eyeshadow palette from the brand Detail Makeover. And this palette is not available anymore. This color story contains some berry tones, some green shades, some olives, some browns, and I think that this palette is overall really pretty, and I want to play with this more. This drawer contains my largest palettes, and let's start with this one. So this one is from the brand You Can Be. This is their Magic Spell eyeshadow palette, and this particular palette is inspired by the Lime Crime eyeshadow palette. I forgot the name, but I think it's the pink green eyeshadow color story that they have. This palette, it's a little bit redundant, and some of the shades look the same on the eyes, especially these two greens, shimmer light greens. They look similar on the eyes. This one does not show up on my eyelids. I wish that this palette has more mattes, but overall they are pretty. They are on more. The shimmers in this palette are more on the sheer side, but this one, so pigmented, so pretty. Okay, let's swatch this one. Okay, I won't focus there. Okay. This palette came out first in 2019. This palette came out first in 2019, but the brand pulled this one out. But last year I saw this in one of the Chinese online stores, and I checked the manufacturing date, and it says, oh, it's not on the back, but it's on the box. It says that it was manufactured in April 2023. So I think that the eyeshadow palette itself is updated and it's not old. The next two I have in here is from the brand Moira. It's an US indie makeup brand. So the first one that I have in here is from their Celestial series. This is the Time to Shine eyeshadow palette, and this palette contains neutral color story with pops of greens. The shimmers in here are your regular standard shimmers, and this one is more of a glitter topper. But the mattes in here are really good. They are pigmented, easy to work with, and show up on my eyelids even if I just use small amount. And then this one, this is my favorite that I got from the brand. This is from their Moiraland series palette, and the details in here are so amazing. Look at this one. Even in the back, looks amazing. This one looks like the ticket from an arcade. So when you open this one up, it contains tickets. So cute. And then the insert is also carnival inspired, and this one has more of a colorful pastel color story, but I also like that this has darker tones so that I can create daytime to nighttime looks. And the formula on this one is so good compared to the other palette that I have. This is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes in my collection, and I think that Moira is becoming one of my top brands for eyeshadow palettes. The next one that I have in here is the Folklore Sweet as Honey palette. This palette is one of my favorite palettes of all time. As you can see, it is used and definitely abused, and I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyeshadow pens in this palette. I have used this palette in a lot of special events, on my birthdays, on the times that I have my hosting gigs. I have used this palette everywhere. I have used this palette when I did one of my family friends' birthday. For some reason, I really love this palette, and I call this palette the palette that was inspired by the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. This one came out before that palette, and I don't know, like I'm sorry, it's like an inside joke, but next one that I have in here is from the brand Essence, and the cover has this lenticular effect. Look at that one. This is the Witch Side palette, and I think that you cannot get this palette anymore. Shimmers in here are not that great. These ones, they are more of a glitter toppers, but the mattes in here are pigmented. Overall, I really like this palette, and I'm gonna keep it. So the last two that I have in here are from BH Cosmetics. BH Cosmetics was bought by Makeup Revolution, and Makeup Revolution has a bad reputation for their eyeshadow formula. So this is the Royal Affair eyeshadow palette, and you cannot get this anymore. But I really do like this color story. The shimmers in here are not that great. They are okay, but the mattes in here are really good. And this is a white shimmer with a blue reflect. It's really pretty, especially on the inner corners. Okay, so you cannot see that on the camera, but this one is staying. I love this, and it's a great neutral color story. So this one is one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. I think that this one has a great matte and baked shimmers formula. So I have hit then 2 shadow palettes. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 eyeshadows, which were included in my Pando's eyeshadows for 2023. You cannot get this palette anymore, but I have seen some floating around on the internet. So if we can get this on eBay or Shopee, that would be great. The mattes in here are so pigmented. They are blendable but loosely packed. This one in the center is a highlighter, but I use this on my inner corners, and it looks so pretty on my cheeks. I think that the stars of the show are these baked eyeshadows. They are so pigmented. Look at that one. They are pigmented, easy to work with, and stays on the eyes for a very long time. Definitely one of my favorites. The last segment of this video would be my quads and smaller eyeshadow palette. So let's start with the quads. This is the Sweet Mint quad. It has no name, but this variant contains the pink, cool tones. This variant contains cool toned eyeshadows. This is more of a mauvey pink shade. This one is a neutral browns, and these two are really pigmented shimmer shades. They look so pretty on the eyes. And the next one that I have in here is a quad from Focallure. This eyeshadow formula sucks, and I really hate using this one, so I haven't touched this in a year, but this is not going anywhere. So the next quad I have in here is from the brand Squad Cosmetics. It's a local brand, and this brand sells really affordable makeup products, but with good quality. I really like this quad. It's more on the warm side, but again, for some reason, I really love this color story. And this one is like a peachy shade, but with gold reflect and some green glitters. It's not showing up in the camera, but it's really pretty in person. So the next one I have in here is from the Vice Cosmetics. This is from their I think from the Powerpuff Girls collection. I don't know if we can still buy this palette. Just check their online shop on Shopee. Oh my god, I cannot open it. So this one is a colorful 6-pan eyeshadow palette. I haven't used this one, but by swatching these, they seem to be pigmented. I will let you know if this one is good or not. Okay, so the last palette I have to show you is this Etude House Playtone Eyes, and this is the Cashmere Mauve palette. I haven't used this one yet, but by swatching these are more on the sheer side. This one can be used as a blush, and it's more of a light pink taupey shade. I have yet to try this palette, and I will let you know if this is good or not. So, and then in here I have this You Can Be pigments. I think that you cannot get this anymore, but I have kept 5 of them, and I really love them as eyeshadow toppers. And 2 of these I made as nail polish, and I will post about the ones that I made as eyeshadow palettes. Okay, so those are my eyeshadow palettes, and I have decided not to show the ones that are included in my project pens